Welcome to Business Owners Speak Out. We are here today with Miss Pamela Fleming. Welcome, Miss Pamela.
Wow, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
Great. Now, you are the owner of Change Navigators, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Awesome. And what is Change Navigators? Tell us all about it.
Great. So, Change Navigators is a change management consultancy. So, I used to work in corporate environment, and I've worked in places like PwC, some of the big change management consulting firms, and I also worked in industry. But I decided I wanted to kind of jump out of those games and kind of get into my own business because I felt like clients truly deserve a white glove service to get, what they're paying for. So I wanted to create Change Navigators, which is a boutique consulting firm, and we go in and we help employers mitigate the resistance of change, which helps them get to the ROI much quicker.
Awesome. And so, what are some of those, when you say change, like what are some of the specific problems that you might help with? Or,
Yes, definitely. So, for instance, if we are on one system, a legacy system, and we want to move to a new system, so now we go in from a change management perspective because at the end of the day, there are project managers that's managing that change, right? So they are making sure that the project is done on time, within budget, and within scope. So, say we're moving from one HR system to a brand new HR system. My job as a change professional is to go in there and to make sure that those people that are impacted by that change understand what's happening, why it's happening, when it's happening, how they're impacted, and how their day to day jobs may change based on this change coming in. So it helps reduce the angst and anxiety of people resisting because they are aware of what's happening.
yeah, man, everybody loves change, right?
We
You have
like
an
to
easy
think
job,
so.
right? No,
It,
I can see
it
that can be
sounds
super
easy.
hard.
It
Yeah.
sounds very easy, but in theory,
No.
it's very hard because it's like pushing 1,000-pound rock up a hill because no one really wants to change. Everyone loves being in their comfort zone.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely understand that. And so, who exactly is that target market that you're looking to impact?
So right now, the target market that I am focusing on is small to medium manufacturing and oil and gas organizations. I've worked in healthcare, retail, utilities, all of those. So none of those are off the table. But I just want to make sure that we are setting ourselves up for success in the smaller size businesses you know because I've worked in large organizations. They bring in a lot of the large consultancies and then they kind of complain about the level of work that they get from them. So, some of the smaller and mid-sized companies don't have that budget for those big old companies. So I want to
Right.
be that provider that can give them the value for the cost.
Awesome. And so, you started because you just kind of wanted to change and do your own thing. How long have you been in business?
So great story. So I started because I wanted to do something different, but really what propelled me to start is the fact that I constantly saw how we hired a lot, and I was a part of this process as well, where we hired a lot of the very large consultancies, and we didn't like the work that they were given, or the statement of work was written so nebulously that no one can really understand what it meant, and it just caused lots of problems. So that's really the purpose of why I jumped out. And I started Change Navigators back in August of last year. So only about
Okay.
8 or 9 months now. So relatively new.
Awesome. Very cool. And so, new company, but definitely not new to the industry. What are some of the challenges that you've seen as you're starting this new company?
So that's a great question. Some of the challenges that I've seen is quite different from when you're in industry because when you are in industry, for instance, if you go into a full-time role, you know exactly what you're doing, when you're doing it, where you're going to be doing it every day. If you're working at one of the larger consultancies, then they're going out and they're finding the clients and then they're saying, "Hey Pam, you're going to this client or you're going to that client." When you start to be your own entity, it's now you. You have to go out and find your own clients. You have to pound that pavement. You have to go and build those relationships and nurture those relationships. And the hard part that I found just personally, and I would love to give this advice to anyone out there, is understand who your target audience is and what types of events that you need to be attending. Because I attended lots and lots of networking events. And a lot of times what I found is the folks at the networking events were people like me who were trying to get started and sell their services. So I'm marketing to the people who are doing the same thing that I'm doing. When what we really need to be doing is trying to figure out how do we get to those decision makers? How do we get to the people that can say, yes, I'm interested in change management and I would like to bring change management into my organization. Those are the people that we need to try and knock on the doors and get to, not just necessarily go to any and every networking event because there's one.
Ooh, yeah, that's time consuming if you try and do that, and not rewarding.
Well, it's time
After
consuming, not rewarding, and it can
yeah,
be costly because you have to drive all around. Houston is not a small place.
no, yeah, yeah,
If you're going
no,
to
and
multiple,
yeah, and so that's really looking into what we like to call is the psychographics of your target market. So many people go, oh, my target market is this, and they talk demographics, age, you know, industry, size, etc. But then you think about the psychographics, you know, where do they hang out? You know, what are they interested in? And those are the places you want to be. So I think that's great that you've given that advice, that you've learned that along the way, and now you're targeted to say, all right, this is where I need to be to make the most out of my time. That's awesome.
exactly, exactly.
Yes. And so, how in this new business and wearing all the hats and doing all the things, how do you stay motivated?
Well, I stay motivated because I have a true, deep passion for making sure that people who are impacted by change don't miss the process of transitioning through. Because one of the biggest things that I am concerned with is employers don't necessarily always allow their people to transition through the change. They typically say, well, we're going to do this ERP implementation, and Lydia and Pam, you're going to use it because we've paid millions and millions of dollars with it. Well, we're not allowing people to understand, number one, what's happening or why it's happening, because at the end of the day, no one really cares about what you're doing, but they do care a lot about why you're doing it. And what is everybody's favorite radio station? WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Yes, I love it. I was like, well, I don't know, but yeah, we use
What's
that
in
all
it
the
for me?
time.
And so when you don't allow people to transition through change, they don't get to understand the what's in it for them and how they're impacted. So that's what motivates me. And if I can just make a difference in one person's life, it makes all the difference, because if one person gets it, they're going to spread that word, and it's going to
Yeah,
keep spreading.
yeah, it trickles. It's the butterfly effect for sure.
Exactly.
And so, how can people support you as you're growing? What are you looking for from whoever's listening to this podcast?
So really what I'm looking for is people to be open-minded and say, hey, maybe I would like to have a conversation with Change Navigators to understand if there's an opportunity for Change Navigators to come in and help my organization. Because again, at the end of the day, we don't just necessarily do change management. We also do like um, practitioner and non-practitioner training. And I'm talking about change management because at the end of the day, you have to also think about, as an organization, the consultants will leave at some point in time. You need to be ready to stand on your own 2 feet when the consultants leave. So I go in from a change perspective, and I facilitate a non-practitioner course workshop, which is a day long, and it helps people understand how to think about change during periods of change, how to be change ready, how to execute the small things in change, not only to get themselves ready, but be prepared to answer the questions of those that report to them, because they're going to have to support those. Because when it's all said and done and the consultants are gone, that's where I find the wheels fall off the bus,
Yeah,
because they're like, oh my God, they were doing this. Who knows how to do this? And everybody's looking around at each other, and no one was actually knowledge transferring with that consulting company when they were there. And so now they've gone, and now you have to re-bring them back to help them, to help you figure out how do we move forward. So I go in and I actually teach that class. And there's also the practitioner piece. Like if a company is wanting to bring their change capability in-house, I help build their change management office. I provide the tools, the template, the governance, the framework, and the training to help people understand how to execute change. And the one thing that I will say for change navigators is that lots of companies like to use ProSci. ProSci is industry standard for change management certification, but it's $4,500 per person. You know, we charge nowhere near that amount of money to do that, and it's cost effective for the organization. And I actually piloted it at one of my previous places of employment, and we actually put 135 people through the training and saved the company over $500,000
whew,
versus sending somebody to ProSci. So
that's amazing.
so I say that to say that there are alternatives out there, and it's not just necessarily the big names because they're branded names and they're known. Give us little guys a shot.
Yeah. And so, who would be, this isn't one of the questions, but I just want to, we know who your target is, but who would be that strategic alliance? So, somebody who has the same target market as you, but they're not in competition with you. They could refer to you if they were listening.
So those would be people who are in training and development. Those could be people who are in organizational development, communications people, because we all work on these projects at the same time, basically. But you really can't do a project without good change management. And let me not say that, because the reality is lots of people do it without good change management. And that's where we see a lot of projects not being as successful, or not, realizing that return on investment. Because the one thing that I do like to say, Lydia, is that you can spend $100 million on an implementation. It could be the best system in the world, the most beautiful with all the bells and whistles. But if your people don't know how to use it, they're resistant, they're not willing to use it. Think about how much money you have to pay on the back end now, because now you have to go back and do something different. You have to retrain people. You have to, people are going to leave because they're, not, they're resistant. You're going to
Right.
have to retrain them. You're going to have to rehire. You're going to end up paying 2 to 3 times more to do it right at the end, instead of just doing it right in the beginning.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I mean, absolute complete sense is if you're going to invest in something, make sure it's done right. Right
Exactly.
the first time, right? Make sure it's implemented, not just the system, but that's awesome. And so, any accomplishments or rewards since you've been kind of in this industry for a long time that you want to share with us?
Well, one of the things is I've somehow become known for building change management offices. I don't know where that happened or how that happened, but each organization that I've gone to have successively asked, "Hey, I'm interested in building a change management organization in my company. Can you help me?" And the answer is yes, we can help you. And it is so critical. And I love, love, love when I see an organization that's come and knock on the door and say, "Hey, I want to bring that change capability inside." Because to me, that means they're thinking outwardly, they're thinking outside of the box, they're preparing themselves to be proactive, not always reacting to things that happen. And when you bring change in house, that means you're trying to do the right things for your organization, but also for those that will be impacted by that change, because now you have a team inside that's going to be looking at how do we make things quicker, faster, more efficient for the people that's going to be impacted? How do we ensure that they are continually made aware of what's happening, why it's happening, when it's happening? How do we prepare them for what's that impact to them? How do we train them? So that's part of exactly what we bring when we build change management offices.
Yeah, I can see how bringing that in would allow for this continuous,
Yes,
lifelong implementation or training, or you're constantly upgrading or making more efficient, right?
exactly.
Whereas if they just hire you, which is great and they should do, but if
Mhm.
they were just hire you once, you'd have to go back every time they implement something new or every time they want to tweak. And so I can see how building an in office could also be a phenomenal way to go.
Yes, exactly. And part of that is once we're finished building and we exit, we can always do fractional work, which means
Right.
we come in and we help without the overhead of a full-time employee. You get the executive level change assistance that you need. Maybe you just want to come in and do something additional with your group that you've already brought in. Um, you know, you can do that on a fractional basis. You don't have to hire full-time executive leadership to do that. So that's one of the many things that we offer as well.
Awesome. So lots of opportunities, and it sounds like you're very custom.
Yeah.
It's what the customer needs. It's what's best for the organization. So it's not a cookie cutter, like, here's my program, have fun. It's very custom to what the customer needs.
Yes, you are spot on with that, because one of the things that we also do is instead of coming in to say, I want to come in and do your change management, we offer change management packages such as jump starts. And a jump start is simply you don't know where to start, you want change management, you don't necessarily know who Change Navigators is, you want to give us a try. We come in and we do your front end analysis, which is your stakeholder assessment, your impact assessment, your readiness assessment, probably about a 3 to 4 month effort. We package all that information up to you with a roadmap of this is where you go from here. These are the activities you need to undertake. If you like what you see, we can contract for more business. If you don't, you have the information you need to move forward on your own. So that way you're not locked into any long term commitment. Neither of us are locked into long term
Yeah.
commitment. But if
Yeah.
you want a
Endless
long term commitment,
transparency.
we're
Yeah.
more than happy to do
Yeah.
that.
You want to keep going? Let's keep going forever. What? Yeah. But I
Exactly.
think that allows a lot of transparency in what you do as well. It's
Exactly.
the you believe in what you do, so you know that 9 out of 10 times they're going to say, "Yeah, we want to keep going," because you know what you're doing is a value.
Yes, of course. And The beauty of all of this is that because I've been on the consulting side, I understand how the consulting life works. I understand what happens behind the curtains. I know what happens. I also know because I've been on the business side. So as a business leader, I've also been a party to getting contractors in to come and do work and not getting what I needed. So I understand how to give the service that I know my clients want because I've been on that side, and I know how to provide that great service because I've also been a consultant. So I think that that's really a win-win situation, not only for us, but for the clients that we serve.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And so if somebody either wants your services or has a referral and it's like, oh man, they need to connect with so and so, what's
Mhm.
the best way to connect with you?
Sure. The best way to connect with me is at info@changenavigators-llc.com, or I can be reached at 832-848-0902.
Perfect. And any social media, anything you want them to connect with you
Yes,
online?
we're on LinkedIn, of course, Change Navigators LLC, also on Facebook as Change Navigators, and also on Instagram as Change Navigators.
Perfect. Just type it in everywhere and find you.
Just type it in
Awesome.
everywhere and find us. And if you can't find us, call us. We'll help you find us.
Perfect. And just a little bit about you. So we've talked a lot about the company and a little bit about how you got started. Any fun hobbies or things you like to do on the side?
I love to bowl, but I can't bowl worth a nickel, but I love it. I think it's just the fun of doing it. I absolutely love to do it. And one of the things is I'm a Peloton junkie, a
Oh,
Peloton
really?
enthusiast. Yes, so I own every piece of equipment that Peloton
That's funny.
has sold, and so I love working out. I love running on the treadmill. I love spinning on the bike. I have a rower. I haven't really gotten into rowing that much. I just can't get into it like I can with the others, but I'm a Peloton enthusiast. So yay, Peloton.
We have a Peloton downstairs. I'm at my home office right now. We have a Peloton downstairs, and we also have a puppy who ate my Peloton shoes, and I've yet to buy new shoes. So I haven't been on the bike in a while. And to go back to your original, what you like to do, I used to be captain of the bowling team in high school. So I do
Really?
love to bowl, although I have not bowled since probably high school.
Well, you can teach me a thing or two.
Maybe. I'm probably right back to the beginning, right? But that's really cool. Awesome. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with us about you or the company?
Yes, the one thing that I would like to leave everyone with is when you're building your business, don't be afraid to say that I'm not for everyone, because you shouldn't be for everyone. Because if you're for everyone, then you're for no one. So make sure that you understand who your target audience is and the value that you can bring them by make sure that you are customizing your offerings, because I don't offer just a peanut butter spread strategy to anyone. I'm not a jack of all trade firm where we don't do that. Our products are customized specifically to the client's needs. So it's really about having that discover call and understanding what are the pain points. So don't be afraid to say I'm not for everyone, because you shouldn't be.
Yeah, and I think that's phenomenal advice because so many times we see where people are so focused on chasing all these leads or, trying to do all these things that aren't the right person and they miss the right person because they're so focused on all these other
Exactly.
distractions. Right?
Exactly.
So I think that's a great piece of advice. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we will put all your information up and we appreciate you being on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great time.